So we've all heard how we have to learn how to compress our irons and how important that is in creating distance in the golf swing. So what we're going to look at in this video is the concept of how we create compression or how we control our dynamic loft during the golf swing. So one thing that you often hear on the golf course is that a player didn't compress the golf ball or it didn't feel good coming off the face. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because we tend to lose our forward shaft lean during the golf swing. And as we lose that forward shaft lean, what tends to happen is we add loft to the golf club. And if I hit the golf ball with 4 degrees more loft than I started with, then I'm essentially swinging a golf club that would be shorter than it was to start, meaning that if I started with an 8 iron and I deliver it 4 degrees weaker, well now I've used a 9 iron. So we can see how the idea of compression and the feel of compression actually is the forward shaft lean in controlling the dynamic loft when we deliver the club. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that a lot of people generally do not set up with the conditions necessary to deliver the club with a negative attack angle and move low point forward. And why is that? Well, the biggest reason I think is that a lot of people, when they set up to the golf ball, what tends to happen is they want to take the golf club and they want to point the shaft right where they're looking from, which is their perspective. And they get the shaft very vertical. And the thing is with that vertical shaft, now my face is shut and my toe is down, and this is a pretty good recipe for hitting the ground at the ball or slightly before with a closed club face and potentially off the toe as well. So what gives? Well, the thing that gives is that when we look at how this golf club is constructed, if I was to actually sit the sole flat on the ground and get the loft to 34 degrees where this is standard, we can see that the handle is a considerable amount forward of the leading edge of the golf club. So this here would be considered forward shaft lean, even though it's actually just the natural way that the golf club would orientate if the sole was flush on the ground. So now by getting the sole flush on the ground and creating some forward shaft lean, now we can see that the handle is much more forward than where low point currently is in the golf club. So how do we create compression? Well, we have to start by not taking away the forward shaft lean, because now we can see that my face is shut and now I'm going to have to try to open this. I've added loft and now I've created a glancing blow that doesn't feel like I compressed the ball. The compression is the same because the interaction between the head and the ball is what creates the compression, but the dynamic loft is high and now the golf ball doesn't have that smash factor and feel the way we want it to. So simply put, getting into a position where instead of aligning the golf club to our perspective and getting the golf club matched up with the left arm, okay, so I can get a nice neutral grip here in the last 3 fingers of the left hand, and we can see that I've got a nice neutral left wrist, a neutral forearm, elbow pointing at the target, left shoulder internally rotated. Now I've done a nice job of maintaining that forward shaft lean at setup, which is going to create a little bit of right side bend for me here as well, which is nice. And now more importantly, I actually have a chance of returning the hands forward of the head because I've started there and not started like this and now think that's how I have to orientate the club to get the ball back to square. So now that we better understand the concept of why creating that forward shaft lean is so important in the golf swing, and now that helps us create the correct dynamic loft as well as smash factor, now we're going to look into ways where we can start working on this if this is something that you tend to struggle with. So I know a lot of golfers tend to call it the flip or the scoop, but we kind of lose that forward shaft lean right over here somewhere. And I think that when we look at this for a lot of golfers, what we're going to find out is that if we look at where the club starts at setup, we're going to see that they tend to be a person that has a grip looking more like this with a lot of extension in the lead wrist. And that really makes it difficult for this person to set up any way other than the shaft vertical like that. And generally trying to get the shaft more vertical is what creates this extension for the player but now we've got kind of a locked out left arm, and my elbow is pointing more back towards my body now. So now this is going to orientate a little bit more across my body. The face is going to want to stay open, and once again, it doesn't feel like I create that compression due to the extension and the misalignment of the left arm and left wrist. So what we're going to do is, if we have to in the beginning, that's totally okay, but we can get in front of a mirror, right? And we just want to point this club exactly at our left shoulder. So we want the butt of the club pointing right at the left shoulder, so we can see that from my shoulder, elbow, wrist to the club head is all now in a nice straight line. So what I want to do is I want to keep that nice straight line, okay, with my elbow pointed at the target. Nothing's locked out here. This isn't rigid, hyperextended. It's just all nice and rotated from the shoulder. Now we're going to see that when I put this down and square my face, now all of a sudden my hand is considerably forward of where that club head is. And once again, this is going to create the opportunity for me to deliver the club the same way with my hands in front, because I've started here. If we're starting with the shaft vertical, that's just going to be a very difficult task for us to get that back in front throughout the golf swing. So hopefully this is super helpful for you. If you see a massive improvement from increasing the forward shaft lean at impact, creating better dynamic loft for your own game, let us know in the comment section. We'd love to hear about it. But make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss one of our new videos. And until next time, keep grinding.